G'day people, I'm Sharyn. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I do gathering on my overlocker. And that's a different word for a serger, but they're the same machine. The first thing I'm going to do is explain to you what differential feed is, because in my experience many people have it on their machines but they have no idea what it does. On a sewing machine, if you use an even feed foot, you get feed dogs on the top as well as on the bottom. And that is what we use with quilting often to help things to feed through the machine better and not have the layers slip against each other. On an overlocker, we don't have a top and a bottom set of feed dogs, we have a front and a back set. And when they're set to 1, they work together. So it picks up the fabric as much at the front as it does at the back and pulls it through. If you're sewing stretchy fabric and you're finding that as you sew it, it's getting wavy, by increasing your differential feed, you can bring it back to flat. On the other hand, if your machine is gathering that in a bit tight, then by lowering your differential feed, you can take it back out to flat. Today I'm going to be using tightening the differential feed so that the machine is pulling in more fabric at the front than it's letting out at the back in order to help me gather. This is the overlocker, or serger, depending on what part of the world you're from. This is the flywheel, which is like the wheel on the right hand side of your sewing machine. It goes around, and as that's going around, things go up and down. Here we have the differential feed that I've currently got set to 1. So that means that the front and the back set of feed dogs are working together. And this here is the stitch length, which is currently between 3 and 4. And that's about where I would normally stitch with my overlocker, somewhere low 3s. If I'm sewing a very thick fabric, I'll take that up higher. My machine is set to normal 4-thread overlocking and the differential feed is set to 1. And there's my overlocking. Possibly need to have a little bit, my cutter taking off very slightly more of the fabric, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Now I'm going to change my differential feed. Nothing else, just change my differential feed up to 2. If you have a look at that, it's just slightly pulling it in. It's like easing, which is what you would do perhaps if you're putting a sleeve into a garment and you just wanted it eased a little bit across the top. So differential feed can provide you with just a light easing. Now if I pulled on that, I will pull it all out because it is just done on the needle threads. To change it to gathering, I am going to take my stitch length as high as it will go. And did you notice that as I was doing that, the differential feed actually came down? There is a limit to how much you can have your differential feed up and your stitch length up at the same time. So if I want to move this one, it's actually, as I moved that, it moved that back. So they can't both be at full at the same time. In order to gather, the other thing I'm going to do is increase my needle tensions. I'm going to put them up to 7. Both of them, and that's it. So I've increased my differential feed and my stitch length, and I've increased the tension on my needle threads. Now the one thing that you should remember about this is that it's going to gather it onto the needle thread. So if I haven't got very much thread here and I pull on it after it's gathered, I'll potentially pull all the gathering off the end of the needle thread. So I'm going to take these and give myself some extra thread here. And now I will stitch it. If you notice when I come to the end of it, to pull it off, I'm not pulling it by this end, I'm pulling it by this end. So I'm closest to where the needle threads are, and in fact I'm better off pulling on the needle threads than I am on the gathering. That is gathering on an overlocker. Now you can actually make the gathering tighter. Because it's gathered onto those needle threads, which are in this case the blue and the yellow ones. And if you look through there, they're the ones that are straight. Oops, I'll try and get that to focus. They're the ones that are straight through the chain. So if I pull those blue and yellow ones out with a pin, there, I can actually pull this even further up and make it a tighter gather. And that is why I gather on my overlocker. Just a little bit of other information here. If you've sewn 2 layers of fabric together on your overlocker and you open them out, you shouldn't have big loops visible. If you have, you haven't got the tension right, or you haven't got the thread in the tension discs properly. So that's differential feed. It can ease fabrics in for the top of a sleeve, or it can gather fabrics. As long as it's a lightweight fabric, it works fairly well. I recently helped a friend who was making costumes do very many meters of gathering on lightweight poplin, and it was very successful. See you next time.